carpenters, bridge builders, and merchants. The guild brought together members of a single trade. As the guilds became specialized, the Templars who had been seamen under the Templar flag now organized into a group that manned the Sinclair fleet, which was among the largest in Europe. The sea remained a gateway to riches, often more so in turbulent times. A fleet needed merchants, and the merchants themselves were also organized in guilds, which were the models for later companies. The concept of guilds was originated by merchants and craftsmen. Their work often included secretive operations, as they had to deal with the prying eyes of the taxman, the competition of other guilds in the same craft, and even the Catholic Church. The Church had declared that a person who bought something with the intention of selling it at a higher price was cast out of God's temple. For towns were actually created by the guilds to employ workers in the manufacturing process, and for the purpose of meeting to buy and sell their wares. In modern Italy, the guild system and its secrecy prevail. Some towns are still dominated by one industry, and workers in that industry will reveal absolutely no information to an outsider. Guilds grew into larger merchant companies licensed to sell goods abroad. Because Scotland and Europe exported wool, ship owners would transport the merchants who wanted to carry the products to continental Europe. In this less than golden age of freebooting, pirates attacked ships even for such mundane cargoes. Therefore, merchants needed a strong ship or fleet of ships to navigate the pirate-infested waters. The Templars, inheritors of a military organization, provided the strength. Post-Bannockburn, the seas of commerce were anything but conducive to trade. The Dutch pirates would attack the English war fleet, and often under letters of marque issued in their own country. The English King Edward II had temporarily stopped issuing such privateering papers, instead opting not to patrol the Scottish shores. Brothers to pirates and corsairs 39 unrestricted piracy against Scotland grew, but it had the effect of making the illegal business more lucrative. Privateers and pirates from the Low Countries, from the Hanseatic League, from France, and from the Channel Islands now regularly attacked English ships. Because the relations between Scotland and England were at best tense, the Low Countries could also be counted on to provide military equipment and food to Scotland, an act that the Scots regarded as necessary trade and the English considered smuggling. The history of Scotland is murky at this time, and naval history even more so, as it was in no one's interest to record piracy. The fleet of Sinclair in the post-Bannockburn years is known to have been one of Europe's greatest. Sinclair had at his command more ships than Edward II of England. The same irregular coast and innumerable island hideouts had protected and hidden ships for hundreds of years before the reign of Edward II, and it continued to do so for hundreds of years after. In 1919 the German fleet was scuttled at Scapa Flow in the Northern Islands, rather than surrender from its hiding place. The Sinclair fleet underwent a major change in the years after Bannockburn. Sinclair ships had been built like those of their Norse relations, in the thin, overlapping oak-planked style that made them light and flexible. But Sinclair now had to react to the heavier style of ship being built in England. He built a castle in Kirkwall, in the Northern Islands, imported the necessary lumber, and built thicker planked warships to accompany his Orkney galley ships. 5 The fleet of the Sinclairs was now so strong that it was used to defend possessions of the King of Norway, who had a much smaller fleet that was too weak to defend her own coasts against pirates. 6 At this time Stockholm had been seized by a pirate navy called the Victual Brothers, or the Victualers. They soon raided the Norwegian coast, and sacked the city of Bergen. The Templars who had come to Scotland to the protection of Robert the Bruce and Henry Sinclair found employment aboard Sinclair's Neo-Templar fleet. They also served in their military tradition in newly formed land fighting units, and for the same elite masters. 40 Piracy. A merry and a short life. The religious wars. The backlash against the wealth and power of the Catholic Church had started long before Martin Luther. In France the Catholic movement was a desire to return to a pure Christianity not obstructed by indolent priests and avaricious bishops. The Church quickly moved to stamp out the heresy and sent St. Bernard, the Templar proponent, to investigate the Catholic sect. He discovered the movement to be larger than the Church thought, and he also believed it to be a most Christian example of living. The Church disregarded his report and sent Simon de Montfort of Leicester, England, to lead an army against them. The viciousness of the war may be evidence of just how severe Rome regarded the threat. At Béziers the papal legate was asked how to recognize the Cathari. He responded, "Kill them all, God will know his own." 7 Simon de Montfort was brutality personified, burning many at the stake and blinding or cutting off the noses of those he allowed to live. The Order of the Knights Templar, sworn to obey only the Pope, was not only visibly absent in the war against the Cathari. In some cases members fought on the side of the heretics against Rome. At Montségur the 60 knights served against the papal army. The Cathari, like the ex-Templars in the next century and the Freemasons thereafter, had secret signs and words to recognize their members. When the knights arrived in Cathar territory the password was, "Have you brought the hatchets?" ? The answer was, "We have 11, freshly honed." Montségur would end in defeat for the Cathari, but the anti-Rome sentiment simply went underground. The Templar organization had less than a century to survive until Rome would turn against it. The Templars may have had more than ample reason to harbor anti-church sentiments, but these would remain underground from the time of the battle at Montségur until the Templar persecutions. The Reformation that would thrive in Germany and Switzerland as a reaction to the all-powerful Catholic Church was based on religion, brothers to pirates and corsairs 41, but the bitterness of the hundreds of years of the Inquisition, merciless taxation, and numerous wars against any non-Catholic people played a role. The Reformation also divided the former Templar Knights on both political and religious grounds. As the Reformation took hold in Scotland, the original core Templar group remained Catholic, including the Sinclair family, which was described as ardently Catholic and suffered as a result. In France, where the Church and State had persecuted the Templars the most, former seaport stronghold La Rochelle would become, like many French ports, Huguenot, that is, Protestant. The religious wars pitted brother against brother, as did any civil war. The Freemasons,